So I just received a box here today, and despite all the stuff on it that says Apple Macintosh, I can assure you that there is not a Macintosh inside this box. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what we got. Well, here's the box. As you see, I've already decided to take it out for the ease of things. So let's get the box out of the way and look on the bench. And oh, well, there's what we have on the bench. So I have to say, in all the stuff I've bought from eBay over the years, I've had them wrapped in interesting stuff in different packaging. I have to say, this is the first time I've ever had something wrapped in a towel, but it's interesting why they did that. So I got a towel out of the deal. I just find that a little funny. Interesting. However, they do have good reason for it, is they put tape over this to keep it together instead of directly on the product. And I'll explain why I prefer that. And look, it's another Packard Bell tower. Might have a little bit of stuff loose in it. Let's see. That out of the way. And we'll put our towel aside. And let me reorient the camera here. So there it is. It is another Packard Bell Tower computer. This one is a Legend 409 CDT. That's close. So anyway, there's our specs, or at least what's supposed to be on it. A 75 megahertz Pentium processor, a 1 gig hard drive, 8 megs of RAM. Quad speed CD-ROM, which we can see right there, and I believe it's one of those proprietary Panasonic ones that goes into the sound card, so it's not a standard IDE. It's probably one of those Panasonic ones that they used back in the day. Of course, that's the telephone sound card in the back, and that's about it. It doesn't have the little panel cover on the front, but there is a design on Thingiverse I can 3D print. And I think I should be able to put one on there pretty easily. 3.5 floppy. Not much on the front. But that gives some expandability, because I'll certainly add some stuff to this system. We turn it around. If we look here, this is using the 590 board. There we are. So this is the Packard Bell 590 main board, or their Hillary board as it's called. And that is a socket 5 main board with an AMI BIOS. So there's our mouse and keyboard, parallel, serial, and VGA down there. Then there is our sound and modem combo card. Now this, obviously I can tell because I have another card just like this. This is the Sound Galaxy Washington 16 sound modem combination card. I believe it's the I38-MMNS834, I think is what the designation for that card is. Some models actually have the ones that are newer where the telephone jack is actually on this side, and that's a little bit of a newer sound modem card. But that's the older one, which is actually a little more compatible for DOS and whatnot, but then again, so was the updated one. Power supply, let's see, all the screws are there. So really what we need to do is open up the side panel of the case and take a look at what is inside, and if anything is loose. I can certainly hear stuff in there. It's probably the power cables from the power supply. Of course, the other thing is to see if there's a hard disk in here, because the inside is actually something I never got to see in the pictures. It was always exterior pictures. Now the other thing it looks like is that it's also missing the little front cage inside, so not only does it have the front missing piece here, but also it looks like the cage that's inside for holding a little 80mm case fan and internal speaker if there was one equipped separately from the board. But that's something I also have that I can model and 3D print a replacement for if I so choose to put one in there. It's not strictly necessary to have that, but having that front cover would make it look a little better. Because I always see the pads all out of place on a lot of these where they've just moved about. So anyway, let's pull this forward and lift off. Well, I can see something already, and I'm sure you can too. The loose component is in fact the drive cage, and it actually has a fan. It has a fan in there on the drive cage, and of course just a standard heatsink on the processor. As that say, it says 75 megahertz in there. If we can zoom in on it, if we can focus, there we are. So 75 megahertz. So the processor is correct. It is a little dirty on this, but we'll plug that in a moment. So what we just need now is let's reorient the camera. All the slots look good. So you can see the sound modem combination card. The header is not used on it, but I can see that the pins over here are bent up some, and that's probably because of this little loose component on the front banging around inside. It does have a hard drive. Let's go back up a little further. So this is the hard drive caddy that's removable. And there is a hard drive in there, so it probably is the original 1 gigabyte if I had to guess. I can see the floppy is connected. Of course, Packard Bell always has these style header cables, so you can put a 5 1/4 floppy in there. CD-ROM is there plugged in, and that is plugged into the board. So this is actually an IDE quad speed drive. Again, it really almost looks like a Panasonic one, but I guess it's not. Everything else is still there. Let's see. And it's got 4 sticks of memory. So I can count from down in here. We can look down in there. I'll go down this way. So right there you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sticks of memory. And based on the number of chips, I would say that's a lot more than 8 megabytes. So this thing probably, if I had to guess, probably has 32 megabytes of memory in it, possibly more based on the number of memory chips present. They are single-sided, so I'm guessing it's probably 16 or 32 megabytes. It certainly does not look like 64. I don't think they put that much in there. There's no memory upgrades on the video, so it's got the original 1 megabyte in there. Of course, the Cirrus Logic for video there. I think that's the GD5428 probably. If not, I'll correct that. Let's see. It'd be interesting to take the hard drive out and look at it, but I'm just tempted to kind of power up the computer and see where it is, because I have seen from the pictures that the computer does post and all, even though there was no monitor connected. I could tell from just the drive activity LEDs on the front that were taken that the computer was posting. So it's probably got a Packard Bell installation. It might even be the original. That's what we're going to find out. So I guess at this point I might as well try to put this little plastic piece for the front back on, and I guess we'll power up the system and do a little bit of exploring. Now these things are always a little bit of a trick to get on, and that may be why, part of the reason it was off. because the tabs are not broken. It looks like it's just been removed. I'm guessing someone probably was taking the panel off on the front. Let's see. So that snaps. Is that other snap in there? Is it? Okay. Push that out. Okay. That's pretty secure now. Alright. Well, I'm just going to leave the cover off and I'm just going to prop it upright. And let's hook up a monitor and capture and see what we can discover with this Legend. So I've got the Legend 406 CDT 409 CDT here propped up. I've got everything hooked up. We have a keyboard, our mouse, I've got our floppies for doing some testing, the monitor, and I do have my VGA capture, so you'll be able to see what's going on when we get into Windows. And if we're doing stuff in DOS, I'll try to use that VGA screen program so that you don't miss out on anything going there. So I'm just trying to put the camera kind of up and out of the way here, since we'll be using VGA capture. Now, one of the things I didn't mention too that I was talking about with the computer case, the reason I liked that the seller had put the towel around it with the tape is because, as I mentioned before, I had something else, and that was a Compact Desk Pro that I received from a seller, and they had put bubble wrap on it, but they taped the bubble wrap directly to the PC case, and the problem with the tape is the adhesive, and the adhesive had gotten bonded onto the case in transit through heat and stuff, and the problem is now it's left all this sticky residue on it that's left a bunch of crud on the case when I took it off, and it's very hard to get off, short of potentially sanding it. So that was just a little follow-up I wanted to say about that. So we've got the computer plugged in, we got screen capture, we got this camera going, so let's power it up and see how it posts. Okay. So right now you still can't see the post information. Okay, so it says the CMOS battery has failed and memory size decreased. That's probably because of the bad CMOS battery, but it says 16,384 kilobytes of memory, so it does have 16 megabytes of memory. So I was correct that it had more than 8 megabytes, but not quite 32. Processor's correct, floppy is installed. Let's see, press F1 for setup. Let's go ahead and look at that. Sheeted, boot options. I always like to have CD-ROM and then hard disk. And then the last one can be network, because I'll put a network card in here. Boot speed, turbo. Turbo, I just try to leave a lot of this stuff standard. Floppy options. 124. Okay. 75 megahertz. So let's see. Okay, well, I want the external DB9 port to be COM1. Now, we don't have an internal modem on the header inside, so we don't need to assign a COM port for that. Parallel port mode, I want ECP. PCI burst. Okay, that's interesting. According to this, the SIM0 bank is fast page and the bank of SIM1 is EDO. So the original 8 megabytes of memory is probably the EDO memory, and they added another 8 megabytes of fast page memory. Looks like what they did there. Turn on advanced power management. So we can just have that. Plug and play configuration. Yeah, So it can use the Intel configuration utility, or it can use the setup utility. I'm going to tell it to use the setup utility for plug-and-play configuration. Well, no, we'll use ICU. Boot with plug-and-play OS. Select it to none. I'll enable Windows 95 trademark for that for the time being. Exit saving changes. And let's see. Yeah, I know about the CMOS battery. Oh no, invalid system disk. I guess the hard drive has been wiped. We're going to need a boot disk. And yes, I will try to get that VGA capture going, so you don't have to look through the camera the whole time. At least we can find out if the floppy is working. Enable CD-ROM support. You know, I never even checked if the CD-ROM drive has got a disk still in it or not. I don't think it does. No, it's got no disk in it, but at least it's opening and closing. Mouse driver. I'll need to quickly switch floppies here for a second. So I got my boot disk back in, so let me see. So we do have a drive C. Interesting. So drive C has files on it, but based on the invalid system disk, I'm thinking that it has either a corrupted master boot record or it's missing the file system. And it should be Windows 95. Here. Let's I have the ability to open edit. Yes, I can. We're going to look at the README file because the README file will tell me what the Windows installation is. Let's see. Well, it certainly got the Packard Bell installation. I'm wondering if this is Windows 3.1 or 95, because that is the 3.1 method for a group. Manager. Okay, readme.write kind of tells me that this might be 3.1. Microsoft Windows for Workgroups version 3.11. So this does not look like it has 95. This looks like it has Windows for Workgroups 3.11. Which is interesting because this system is intended for Windows 95 to be running out of it. The Packard Bell installation, it looks like it's supposed to be MS-DOS 6.2 or 2.2 on here. And of course we got this thing. Ta-da, wave. Back up. Oops. Okay, that's all we got. Auto exec DOS. ESCD.RF, so that looks like a Windows CD driver. Plug and play. Packard Bell master recovery done on this computer, but they did not do the system transfer part so that it could actually boot. But I don't want to use Windows 95 because that's the incorrect MS-DOS version for that, because Windows for Workgroups, I believe, well, no, Windows for Workgroups could work on MS-DOS 7. MS-DOS 7.1, which is Windows 95B and higher, is what it will not work with. Now see, that CD-ROM driver detected the thing. And again, that's a BTC CD-ROM driver I've got there that found the CD-ROM drive. So it's interesting that the Oak Technology one does not find it. Okay, let's just go to VGA240 install. Just so you can at least see that part. So let's do CC. Oh. Okay, and I'm going to be a little creative here. And I'm going to add VGA240 to the AutoExec file, because that way it will load it up for doing all the stuff in DOS, and we'll be able to see what the computer is doing during the restoration process. AutoExec.bat VGA240C/install. Of course, that might disappear as it does it. Okay, hopefully this time we'll be able to get somewhere on the computer with it getting set up and see what's on here, but it looks like it's a fresh Windows 3.11 recovery done on it. So no hidden gems to find on this computer, it looks like. Well, see, I was right. It says it's a Panasonic CD-ROM drive. And it's plugged into the regular IDE, and yet it's working. Interesting. Okay, computer's resetting. So that was pretty straightforward for hardware detection. Well, obviously it's reset the AutoExec.bat, so we're not seeing the startup screen here. Okay, Cirrus Logic GD5434. I guess I wasn't quite right on it. 640, 800, 1024. And now it's loading Windows for Workgroups 3.11. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? System.ini is missing the 386 enhanced section. Boy, never did this, did not do it right. Try this again. everything's all garbled up when it uses that VGA program. Looks like that cooling fan on the front's working. Data error reading drive. Are you kidding me? Anyway, I can hear the hard drive having trouble, so that's not a good sign. There's time to bring those for root groups. I'm starting to get the impression that I should just redo this myself. Data error. Data error reading drive C. Yeah, I'm getting the impression that I need to do some diagnostics instead and refresh this system myself. Because this is not looking too good on this thing. Yeah, and there's that system INI here. So you know what? We're going to stop here for a moment and see what if I can do on this computer. Alright, so we're in PC Doctor, so I'm going to run a full diagnostics on this Legend 409 CDT here and see if the system is up to par before we really get into anything else. So, go to all tests, make sure everything is highlighted, put a disk in the 3.5, and then I will put good sized data CD in a Panasonic quad speed drive. Wait for that to initialize. Okay, F5. So data CD. And I'm going to press enter and we're going to walk away and let this thing run some tests. And that'll probably tell us what's going on with the hard drive and maybe some other things as well. So the hard drive is clearly having some kind of trouble, so we're going to use a different program and look at that. I just want to skip ahead to the other tests that PC Doctor can do, like Floppy, miscellaneous CD-ROM and modem. And then we'll look back at the hard disk using a different program. I just want to work on these right now. Okay, well, we got through those tests just fine. So we'll need to look at that hard drive now with a different application and see what's going on there. So in this video we're going to use MHDD, which is a nice little utility for analyzing hard drives, and we're going to look at the hard drive on this Legend 409 CDT. see if we can get some detailed information with what's going on with it. Obviously, it looks like we have some bad sectors on the disk. I don't know if those are soft or hard ones. If they're soft ones, the format will get rid of it. If they're hard, then that means the disk has some damage on its platter. So MHDD we're going to use to look at that a little bit here. So it's found the hard disk. And I like MHDD because it can give us a fair bit of information about the disk along with being able to scan it and identify the issues. So let's go ahead and look at ID information. So it tells us the model, the LBA addressing, logical block addressing as it's called, cache, firmware, serial number, size. Let's see. Let's have the ID. Yeah, it tells us what LBA is. Let's use it in DMA2 mode. Is there any other data we can look at? Test. Let's see. That's just to see the drive powers down and reinitializes here. Let's do a seek and retest before we do a scan. That's interesting. Why did it fail? Interesting what's going on there. Well, I guess we're going to run the scan and then see what results we get from the scan. Let's see. Well, we don't want to do any remapping. Let's see. Do a spin down after the scan. Alright. See what we get here. So what the scan will do is it'll identify for us what sectors and blocks on the drive are having issues, which ones are running fast, which ones are running slow. We can see the access times there. It's got 2 that are already past 500 milliseconds. So this drive probably needs a long format done to eliminate some of these and then test again to see how much of it is actually faulty sectors or bad sectors. I know there's some according to PC Doctor, and MHDD should see those. So it will come up as uncorrectable, or if any of the other errors, if there's something with the drive. So we're just going to let MHDD run through here and see what we get. So after 4.5 hours of this hard drive being examined by MHDD, we've pretty much concluded that I don't think this hard drive is going to have anything being pulled off of it or even trying to look at anything on this system. As you can see, we've got almost 1,300 uncorrectable blocks or sectors on this disk. Now, I think they might mostly be soft sectors that are bad, but if they're hard sectors, then that means there's physical damage or something wrong with the drive heads, which probably isn't very surprising for a hard drive of this age and potential condition. The glorious Windows 95 startup sound. Well, it's the next day with the Legend 409 CDT here, and you see I've got a Packard Bell Windows 95 installation now on the computer. And basically what I did, everything is still stock on the machine. It still has the Sound Galaxy Washington 16 sound modem combo card, the Matchita quad speed CD-ROM and all that stuff. The only thing I changed out on it was the hard disk. So I put the Mac Store 2GB hard drive that I had that I showed earlier in the video in this machine, and took the 1GB one out. That one is now on another computer right now being reworked with MHDD. Yes, it did clear all the uncorrectable sectors on that disk. The only problem, of course, with it is that now it has a lot of slow blocks in those places where the uncorrectable errors were. So MHDD is working on it, and it's improving with each scan that it's doing. So it's doing a repeated loop on there where it's writing over the slow blocks to try to speed them up, and the number keeps decreasing. So hopefully that drive will get back to life, but it's going to take probably a few days of rework on it. And this system does work. Again, it's not particularly fast with this Mac Store 2GB hard drive either, because it's the same variant as that one. It's just that it's got 1GB more space on it. But we used our master CD and basically got this working. And you should be seeing it all on the VGA capture just fine. I also corrected some hardware problems that were going on with this system, because the printer port was always having a problem with some resource conflict, and I finally figured out, even though it has the options for ECP and EPP, which is enhanced parallel port and extended capabilities port respectively, for some reason the system doesn't support using either of those options. It can only use compatible or bidirectional, so I got it set to bidirectional, and it's working fine. The serial ports are also working as well. Those ones are assigned to COM2 and COM3. So one of them is the external serial and the other is the internal header, which doesn't have anything attached to it. Usually that's for a little 2400 BPS Rockwell dial-up modem, or possibly another serial header attached to it, which I might put on there once I figure out the pinout, because it should be pretty similar. And then COM1 is for the Sound 144 modem, which we added. So the only thing left really to do with the system, and you might be able to hear the 3D printer in the background, is I'm printing the front fascia for the computer, because you see here it's open. The system did not come with one. It came with the panels and everything else, but it didn't have a little front cover that goes over here for the speaker and the fan. So there's a design on Thingiverse that's printing right now, and that will basically just go right on here. Now I don't have filament that matches the gray that they have. So I'm making kind of a purple colored one. I think that'll be an interesting color for the front, because a fun fact for anyone that knew, Packard Bell had an option or add-on accessory you could buy that allowed you to change the panels out on these for different colored ones, because they always came with this stock gray panel on there. And I know they had them for the 3x3 and 4x4 desktop cases like my Legend 100 CD is, but for the towers like this they may or may not have had them because of this different design. But they came in other colors like red, blue, I think also it's white, so like red, white, and blue. They may have had them in black and some other obscure colors, but I do remember red and blue. But they're very rare to find online or anything like that. So, but I know they had that customization option, so I'm doing a little bit of that myself with the front color 3D printing a purple one that somebody made for Thingiverse, so that's kind of nice. So aside from that, basically the computer has got the stock installation. So we got all our default software. I went ahead and took off FaxWorks and all because I hated the little startup thing they always got. Got a classic Packard Bell Navigator, of course, which always starts up when you first boot the computer after a restoration. And they should have the little voice navigation for it. Let's see. Now you can tell that this computer is not particularly fast. Again, 75 megahertz Pentium, 16 megabytes of RAM, but also the limiting factor is the max store hard drive. I know that it's not particularly that quick.
Welcome from Packard Bell. We offer you two computing environments to choose from, Packard Bell's Navigator or Microsoft Windows. You may also begin by taking a quick lesson on using the mouse.
So let's go to Navigator. So obviously it's meant really for a 640 by 480 resolution because it's supposed to fill the entire screen here, and it's only filling a portion of it. But it was kind of a way for users, new users in particular, to get accustomed to using their computer by kind of treating it in a virtual house
Welcome to Navigator's living room.
I wonder if it speaks for everything, or no, it's just that. Yeah, of course, that's the F-Media remote. So one thing these computers have is that Packard Bell provided two options for this system. They had a little infrared remote control that worked through the serial port, which I do have, but it's not plugged in right now. And they also have a shortcut keyboard function that plugs in alongside the PS2 keyboard, basically in line with it, that the monitor sits on. And it's got little shortcut buttons that also do similar things to the little infrared remote, basically to give you some entertainment options and telecommunications. See, I think this is the software library. Let's see if it tells us anything there when we open it. That's about it. And I know there's an infamous mouse tutorial on Navigator, like I said, it always starts with. I'm just kind of browsing around through it right now. Oh well. Let's go back to Windows. And wrap this up. Quick tips to manual time. Yeah, we'll just leave those on for now. Recycle. Ding. So yeah, there's pretty much not much else to talk about except for getting all the stuff we did at the beginning there with the diagnostics and everything. All the diagnostics on the computer passed except for the hard disk. That was really the only thing hanging up the system, and again, as we saw from MHDD's screen, that's pretty much know why. So other than that, it's a working system, just needs a little touch up, and then maybe I'll see what I'll do with it. Again, right now it's pretty much a stock unit with the quad speed CD and 3.5 floppy and everything else in there, so I'm trying to figure out if I will take out the sound and modem combo card and replace those with a separate Opal 3 sound card and modem. And then also maybe put a 5.25 floppy, because I got plenty of those in here, and also a Zip 100, and change this CD-ROM out. So basically customize the system. But that pretty much wraps up this video on the Legend 409 CDT. Hey guys, Brian here. Do me a favor and click that like button down below, and while you're at it, go ahead and click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content when I post it. See you guys in the next one.